All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first annual meeting of the year 2020 of the Nassau County Planning Commission. I ask you all to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Here. Excused. Excused.
Here. Present. Present. Here.
Okay, acknowledgement of the receipt of the transcripts of December 12th.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion that we acknowledge receipt of the transcripts from December 12th. Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All right, good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay. If anybody here is from the public looking to speak on any of the agenda items, there are speaker registration forms to my left, your right, on the desk. Please fill them out and hand them to staff. Put the case number and what your position is on the matter. And it doesn't look like we're going to have a podium, so we're going to ask you to step up to the rail. I know, but it's not connected. But we have our stenographer right here in front to my right, so if you come up to the rail and speak loudly and clearly, we should be able to capture everything. Marty, you handling the first matter? Thank you. John? Okay, and you agree with the amounts? Okay. I don't have anyone signed up from the public. I need a motion on the reduction. We do? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Thanks, John. Name and address for the record. Okay, and I assume that once all the paving and the fencing's done, you'll be back in the spring. Okay.
Just one thing, these were all properly notified, published in Newsday, and surrounding residents, property owners were properly notified.
Okay. The only thing, staff, if there's a chance that we can get a microphone so that the rest of the people here can hear what's going on too.
Just quickly, was there any issues with some of the improvements that you were working on where things needed to be delayed or anything that needed to be redone because there was a problem or concerns like that?
Anyone else? All right, this time I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion on NCPC file 1987-F-2 to approve the application for reduction of surety bond as described.
Yeah, I would just put, so it would be a reduction of condominium one from $1,259,326.31 to $34,800. Condominium two from $1,529,843.89 to $70,000. And the HOA section from $2,619,972.35 to $139,750.
Thank you.
That's, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Thank you.
Next case is the extension in time to file a resolution of major subdivision.
Okay. Before you start, Paulie, is there anybody from staff that can see about getting a microphone up? Oh, okay. He's working on it?
He's trying to get some,
All right, that's all. Thank you. Name and address for the record. Okay, and this is the second request for the extension, so it would be June 29th at 20. Okay. Okay. I do not have anyone signed up from the public on this. The extension deadline would be June 29th, 2020. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that NCPC file 1987F-4 be extended to June 29, 2020, as recommended by staff.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? So carried. Thank you. Minors. Good morning, Counselor.
Well, the image, I think, helps because when I first looked at it and just the numbers, I was curious as to why it wasn't closer to like an even split so that the variances for the front yard width would be less. But once you see the image, you can see why you divided it the way you did. It seems to make sense. Yeah, yeah. So, you know, you gotta deal with the realities of the lines of the roads and such. So that's what you worked with.
So because we don't have the microphones on, I'm just going to make sure that we don't have anybody for the public that wanted to be heard on this. This was agenda item 1, 2020, Village of Island Park, minor subdivision. Not seeing or hearing anybody, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve NCPC minor sub-file 1201 with a negative deck.
1, 2, 0. Yeah, 01/2020.
File 01/2020.
Correction for the new year.
I know it's a leap year, but we don't leap a whole year.
Oh, I tried. Didn't work. So corrected. 1-2020. Thank you.
Motion made? Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? So carried. Thank you. Next, why don't we, you think we'll have this up shortly? Yeah, all right, so we'll wait. And I do have one person from the public signed up in opposition, Joseph Ziznik. Is it Zizik? Okay. Okay, we're still working on the audio, so we might as well continue with the agenda. Agenda item 2-2020. That is property in the town of town of Hempstead in Belmore, minor subdivision. Morning, Councilor. Happy New Year.
saying the top two lots that we see in the diagram, those do not currently have a structure on it?
Okay, we'll take a seat in the front row. We do have one neighbor, Joseph Zizik. Just put your name and address on the record, speak loudly. Thank you. The fence was on your property, or? So, I didn't follow that. You knocked down your neighbor's fence? Okay. Okay, so you moved your fence over. Counselor, you know anything about this? Okay.
Gentleman Mike Hart, there is an issue about a property line, a boundary line issue. I'd be happy to handle it and address it. We're not going to take down anything that's not on our property. If the fence is on your land, it will remain there. I'll pass that along to Mike Hart.
Yeah, and normally it starts with an updated survey, right? So the survey should tell us if there's a fence that's not where it should be, kind of thing. So from the perspective of the property being developed, and there may or may not be a fence that gets either removed or not, is there also some consideration from the builder in terms of some landscaping in that spot so that we can try and address the concern?
And generally, as a matter of law, a fence, as long as the variance is less than a foot, it doesn't really adversely affect anybody's title. You know, from the property, a foot from the property line, not a 1 foot fence.
And if it is on their property, I hope you kept the name of the fence company. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, there is a tree ordinance in the town.
There's a tree ordinance
Yeah.
in the town of Hempstead, and before he could get a building permit, in fact, I believe you probably put a tree survey in as part of your client put in as part of their application.
Yes, but that application has now been revised since it's by right.
Mhm.
But yes, there will be a tree survey submitted to the building department. They have to preserve as many trees as possible. And I'm happy to talk to them about doing some plantings. These are going to be nice new homes. These are people who built in the area before. I don't think there'll be any problem about putting some additional landscaping along your property. I'd be happy to have that done.
Well, I find that odd because
You're going to have two new homes.
It's going to be a big change. Many times when we have a hearing, the neighbors are concerned because the property was allowed to fall into a state that wasn't good for a period of time. The proposal, however, is to allow these new homes to be built and such, so it'll be a completely changed scenario. So I think you have a reason to walk out of here hopeful that it's going to be a better place not too long from now.
Well, actually, along those lines, taxes seem always to go up in Nassau County. They don't go down, but usually new construction increases
Councilor, that has
values
more
in
to
the
do with
area.
the school taxes.
That's fine. I'm not pontificating.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about what if the house isn't sold? They're going to end up renting, and we're going to have, as it is, we have trouble parking on the block already. Everyone has 3 cars. It's.
Councilor, we're going to have a driveway and a garage? Okay.
What's the capacity to park? How many cars can you park on each new proposed construction? Driveway and garage.
Is it a 2-car garage?
Each house has an interior garage and a parking pad.
Sorry.
It's okay. I would say it would be at least 2 cars. You could 3 with the garage.
So capacity is three cars per house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And I was just noting to some of the other neighbors that the former owner of this property is now going out of title. There's other people that are going to build the houses, and they will be sold. The intention is to sell them as owner-occupied single-family homes. The intention is not to have them rented. I mean, they're going to spend significant dollars to build high-end homes here that they intend to sell at full market value.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Thank you. All right, I do not have anyone else signed up from the public, so I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, this is a lot line adjustment, a project that is zoning compliant, and as of right, I recommend approval of NCPC File 2, 2020.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, 3/20/20. Well, now we have the microphone.
NCPC File 03/2020. The applicants are Joseph and Fiorella Brazzi and Maria Brilla. This is for a 2-lot subdivision, site location 2 Park Lane, Massapequa Park, New York, 11762 in the village of Massapequa Park, Section 48, Block 224, lots 42 and 64. The 27,780 square foot area subject property is situated on the west side of Park Lane in the village of Massapequa Park. The application proposes to subdivide the property, which has 178.56 feet of frontage, into 2 parcels. Proposed parcel 1 will have 89.28 feet of frontage, a total of 12,638 square foot area parcel. Proposed parcel 2 will have 89.28 feet of frontage, a total of 15,142 square foot area parcel. The Village of Massapequa Park has issued a letter of zoning compliance signed by Linda Tominello on October 27, 2019 for the proposed subdivision. The application is considered as of right. Here to speak on the application is Brad Keneally.
That doesn't look like Brad Keneally.
Hi, Jeff Forcelli, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Uniondale, New York, on behalf of the applicant, with the consent of Brad Keneally. I think everything's been said that has to be said. This property is entirely within the Village of Massapequa Park, and it's been approved by the Planning Board of Massapequa Park, and is here because it's within 300 feet of the town of Oyster Bay. The lots comply. We have secured approval. In the resolution, it cites that when this matter was referred to the Planning Commission for subdivision, the Planning Commission, the Nassau County Planning Commission, recommended local determination, and as their recommendation, and that was made part of the decision of the Massapequa Planning Commission resolution. So I think everything else has been said, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Well, you're going to have some neighbors that are going to have some questions, I think. I have Robert Berardi, but he's speaking on behalf of Sal Ballesteri. What's that? Yeah, okay. So come on up. Name and address for the record.
My name is Sal Ballesteri. I live at 57 East Lake Avenue since 1973. We have a serious water problem there. It's East Lake Avenue. What has happened in February of this year, the village gave them permission to build homes. We can't go against that. They denied it twice before, but now they have it. Big problem is they brought in a surveyor. They're going to build houses 12 feet above my house. The water level is 10 feet down. I'd like to show you what our block looks like when we get rain. The village has accommodated us by running a hose from the sump area to across Sunrise Highway to get rid of the water. These are the pictures of what happens when it rains heavy. Now this is what the village has done for us. Let them see it, but I have to have it back. It's part of another investigation. Here, dear. This is the flood, and this is the rear of my house in the summer. These trees, when they see it, hang over, and they're all over. That's what the state told me, 75 feet. It's up to the owner of the property's responsibility to maintain this here. It's an ordinance in the village. That's quite all right, if you don't mind, because it's part of what I have done. The village has given us very little help. After denying to this property since 1985, what has changed? Nothing. No one's been in there. No one has touched it and everything. So I've gone beyond the village. And this is part of a case that I'm going to bring up against the village. That's the reason why I need the pictures.
Well, you'll get the pictures back, but I was just going to say, you may be in luck because you have a very prominent attorney representing the two new developers, the two homes that may have the same concern that you may have and may be able to help out.
Well, here's the thing, sir. We flood when we get heavy rain. Now, the last flood cost me a furnace and a hot water heater. The question is, when the surveyors were there, and they said they're going to put in 12 dry wells to prevent flooding in my house. I would like to know what happens if this doesn't happen. Right now, since they ran the hoses, the water is pumped onto the south side of Sunrise Highway. Now, they all know of the condition. It's East Lake Avenue. The houses were built on a lake. Who could we go to? I've gone every place I could. Right now, and I'm not going to lie to you because eventually you're going to find out, the only people that promised to help me is the state. They said this is a civil matter. I want to know if we flood, and you see the pictures of what the street looks like, if they now turn around and disturb this land. We know the water is there. We had a problem with a fire hydrant. They had to bring in a special contractor just to repair it because of the water problem. What's going to happen? They're going to put these houses? How does it benefit me? It's higher than my house. Water is not going to go up, it comes down.
Let's see if Mr. Ficelli is aware of the situation or has any response.
Just for the history of this, years ago, there were applications for 4 lots, and then 3 lots, and 2 lots is finally what the village approved. So this has been a long time in coming to get. It's 29,000 square feet, and it's only 2 lots, and most of the houses around it are on lots which are substantially smaller. As part of this, the houses, there is a high water table there, as in many areas on the South Shore, anywhere near the water. One of the requirements of this is that the houses be built on slabs, so that there are no basements, and the houses will be on slabs, just so it'll go down 4 feet. In addition, yes, the 12 dry wells is required by the village. They had their engineers look at this. This has been a plan that's been looked at and looked at and looked at, and finally came to this, so that the person has something to do with their property. Now, in
So
terms
are the dry wells going in as a result of the additional development?
Yes, the dry wells are for this piece of property. This piece of property is required to be self-contained as to drainage. So this will probably be a betterment. It's not going to take away the generic problem for the neighborhood, but what we will do here, and because the water table is down 10 feet, as he testified to, these dry wells will be below the surface. They'll take all the water from the roof leaders, the paved surfaces, and the 2 lots will be self-contained as to drainage. And so as much as, yes, there's drainage, right now the drainage on this property either percolates or it goes into the street. What will happen now, it'll all percolate because it's designed for at least a 5-inch rainfall. So,
Right. So you understand that? So you're actually going to be having an improvement on the runoff that was already existing. Now you're putting in 12 new dry wells, and the houses are being built on slabs as well. So you're going to be capturing more of the water than it did previously. What did you say, 16?
And if it doesn't work, sir, right now, the big problem is the sump, because when they raised the railroad, they made an outlet which is too small. Now, the state, under raising New York State, they came down and they said, there's no way you're going to be able to turn around and let that water get out. That's why the village has a hose that runs from Philadelphia Avenue to Park Lane and out under the railroad to get rid of the water. Now, you think these dry wells are going to turn around and relieve that? If you see the amount of water that comes out, well, the question is this. Everybody knows the problem. We have nowhere to go, and it costs us when we flood.
I understand the issue. The problem is that's not the issue before the planning commission.
Well, what is the issue, sir?
Ours is the subdivision. And
Okay.
Okay. So
All right.
the fact that they putting in the dry wells to contain the runoff of the water from the gutters is already sufficient and under the code on the local level.
Yes,
So-
I realize that, sir.
So
I
there's
don't
a-
even know, listen, we have nothing to say what goes on in this piece of property. The village gave them the authority. Why are we here? Just to cover the fact that they needed to have so many people here to get an approval? That's the only reason. But if that's so, that's good. We want to know one thing. If this doesn't work, who do we go to?
Well, whether it works or not, apparently it's not working now, right? So the issue, what I'm saying, is not before us. You're already dealing with the state. It seems that you've been getting some response from the state. I would continue to go that route, but there's nothing that we can do as the planning commission on the issue of the flooding.
I don't even know why. What did you subpoena me? What did you send me a letter here for? I have nothing to say of what's going to happen there. The village authorized them to do this. They're going to be responsible of what's going to happen there. I showed you pictures. And if you think the outside is bad, you should look what the basements look like.
Sir,
I know.
we understand you have a serious problem of flooding. I'm sure it's not the sole responsibility of this single property. It's a much bigger issue, and we appreciate that. Unfortunately, it's not within our power to do anything about the real issue of flooding, which you mentioned various causes, is beyond this application. We only have the power to to rule on this particular application, which has sufficient drainage to maintain its own water on its property, so
Well-
that it doesn't add to the problem. But
You're
that's
gonna-
as far as we can go. We don't have more
I
authority
know,
than that.
you're going to tell the water on their property when it flows that it has to stay there. Come on, you got to be kidding me. Let me tell you something. The village turned it down twice, 1985 and 2004.
That's because it was for 4 homes and 3 homes. They've now
Listen,
approved 2.
it's the same amount of land that was there. They just applied to put 4 homes. Do you know something, sir? I was at the fire department yesterday. When you do this, can a fire truck go down Park Lane under serious conditions and make a turn? They're supposed to have a letter for this saying that that's safe. You're putting 2 houses away from the main street. That street is 28 feet wide. Okay, I assume that you're going to change the parking conditions and everything over there, but why don't you turn around and tell them they got a letter from the fire department to make you read it?
Who got a letter from the fire department?
They don't. They said they did. I went there. I went to the fire department in Massapequa, and I went up the one up on Prospect Avenue. Nobody knows that the condition that you're going to put houses in, and these houses are by our houses.
Okay.
You got to remember.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a question for staff. I just wanted to be clear. Did he say that 12 dry wells are being done by the new owner or developer, or is that being done by the municipality or someone else? It said- Okay, if you would, Mr. Ficelli.
There'll be a condition of the building permits.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other condition that we require with the declaration on the roadway, mutual roadway?
Yes.
Okay.
Those will be, and the road is proposed to be 25 feet. Under Section 280A, Subdivision 5 of the town law, 15 feet is presumptively sufficient for emergency vehicles. We have 25 feet. Many of the public roads in the county, particularly are only 22 feet or 20 feet. In some residential neighborhoods under the newest subdivision, they're 30 feet. But this only services 2 houses, and it's adequate access for any emergency vehicle, we believe.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
But did they receive a
Name and address for the record.
Robert Berardi at 54 East Lake Avenue, Massapequa. I want to know, did they receive a letter from the fire department saying they're able to make that turn? Because you got all stores on one side.
I think what the council's saying is by right, they meet the requirements. Okay, so you had mentioned that there was a letter. If you have a copy of the letter and you'd like to show us, we'll take a look at it.
No, we went to the meeting and they told us the fire department, but they never showed us a letter from the fire department saying it was okay.
Right. And Stan, so if is it a 15-foot minimum? Do you know on the roadway for the emergency vehicles?
288. The street on that side is 28 feet. I just measured it.
Right, so that's more than sufficient.
That's right.
Thank you.
But a 70,000-pound truck.
You can't, oh, excuse me, you can't scream. Thank you. All right, not seeing or hearing anyone else, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for approval on a negative deck for NCPC file 03-2020.
Where the mutual, down at the bottom. Rick.
Oh, yes. Yes, and a declaration for a mutual roadway.
So I second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Opposed? So carried. Next, 4/2020.
NCPC File 04-2020, the applicants are Locust Valley Cemetery Association and William and Keem Esposito. Site location 117 Ryefield Road and 20 Horse Hollow Road in Locust Valley, New York, 11560, Section 30, Block F, Lots 3 340, 354, 355, 359, and 365. The purpose of this application is to reapportion the two parcels of the subject through a land swap. The Locust Valley Cemetery is swapping 4,045 square foot for 4,045.26 square foot of land that is currently owned by the Espositos. Both properties will still have approximately the same amount of land. The Village of Laddingtown issued a decision for the proposed lot line adjustment or land swap and is zoning compliant with their village codes. The application is considered as of right. Here to speak on the application is Jeffrey Forcelli.
Mr. Ficelli, we were most concerned about what was underneath the land in the land swap.
Pardon me?
I said we were most concerned with what was underneath the land in this land swap.
It's vacant land. This is something that the cemetery and the neighbor, the Espositos, have been working on for many years. The Espositos property, which, just let me get my bearings, is really to the south.
Marty, go back to the drawing.
Excuse me. The
It's
Espositos property,
Jeff, it's up on the
which
screen.
is-
Jeff, it's
Pardon
up
me?
on the screen.
Okay. The Esposito's property is on that picture to the left. And the piece that's very dark, heavily in black, that's a piece of land which is owned by the cemetery, but it's de facto part of the backyard of the Espositos. And what I mean by that is there's a line of trees on the, as you look at that, on the right side of that property, which separates the cemetery from Espositos. So this piece of property is really functionally the Espositos because it's on the side of their side of the tree line, and they use it, although the cemetery owns it. So the cemetery made an arrangement with the Espositos to convey that piece to the Espositos because it really is part of their backyard, and it's right behind their swimming pool. Now, to the left of that dark piece, there's a strip of land which the Espositos owns, which is adjacent to the cemetery on their east side, which is the exact same dimension, which is a very steep slope from the Esposito property down to the cemetery. So what's happening, what the conveyance does is it gives Esposito what really is their backyard, for all intents and purposes, gives them title of it, and it already is screened. In return, they're giving the steep slope to the cemetery, which will be used by the cemetery for 4 mausoleums.
Are you representing both the buyer and the seller here?
Pardon me?
Are you representing both parties?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And they've had a contract, and we went to the Laddingtown Planning Board and got the variances required for both lots. We applied to the Laddingtown Planning Board and got a subdivision, a minor subdivision, and because we're within 300 feet of the town of Oyster Bay, we're here.
Okay. I do not have anyone signed up from the public and not seeing anyone from the public. Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I believe that NCPC File 4-2020 Type 2 is a zoning compliant as of right project, which I recommend approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you, Counsel. 5/2020.
NCPC File 05-2020. The applicants are Joseph Pizzarusso and Jacqueline Mirotzik. Thank you. The site location is 3003 Judith Drive in Belmore, New York, in the town of Hempstead, Section 63, Block 315, Lot 78, 79, and 80. The 8,015.66 square foot area subject property is situated on the east side of Judith Street in the hamlet of Belmore in the town of Hempstead. The purpose of this application is to reapportion the two parcels subject through a lot line adjustment. The parcel to the left, which is known as 2,995 Judith Drive, will gain 28.98 feet of frontage on Judith Drive, as well as 3,971.31 square feet in area. The parcel to the right, which is known as 3009 Judith Drive, will gain 28.98 feet of frontage on Judith Drive, as well as 4,044.35 square feet in area. The Town of Hempstead has issued a letter of zoning compliance signed by Louis Carnival on December 3rd, 2019 for the proposed lot line adjustment. The application is considered as of right. Here to speak on the application is Mike Gregory.
Morning, Councilor.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'd like to thank you, Ms. Paz. I'd like to give you the registered return receipts. I apologize for the delay.
Name and address for the record.
Yes. Michael Gregory of Permits R Us LLC, 64 Division Avenue, Suite 104, Levittown, New York, 11756. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm here representing Mr. Maratsnik and his neighbor, Mr. Joseph Pizzaruso. I'd like to give you a history of this lot that is sandwiched in between the two parcels, number 2995 Judith Drive and number 3009 Judith Drive. This home was a zombie home for over 10 years. It was eventually demolished by the Town of Hempstead under an Article 78 that was granted by the town board. Mr. Maratsnik and his neighbor, Mr. Joseph Pizzaruso, purchased his property from the Nassau County auctions, and we're in front of you today. They wish to combine, they wish to take the parcel in the middle, and they're splitting it in half, and each neighbor is going to take half that parcel. So we're actually increasing the size of each subject parcel.
So it's really a reverse subdivision.
Yeah, I was going to say, for the first time I'm in front of the board
Mine
today,
too. Yeah.
for the exact opposite reason. I'm usually here for subdivisions. Now I'm actually here combining properties.
So let me ask you, once the properties are combined, would they be able to be subdivided as right?
No.
Okay.
Once the properties are combined, each lot will be about 12,389 square feet to 2995 Judith Drive, and the other parcel will become 12,462 square feet. But they cannot be further subdivided at any point in time. Each neighbor has a plan of extending their landscaping. That's Mr. Pizzaruso. Mr. Maratsnik will eventually build a pool in the rear of the property. Other than that, and possibly a detached garage. Other than that, there will be no future plans for subdivision, as it won't be an as-of-right case in front of the zoning board. And that's our case.
Okay. There is nobody left here from the public. So unless the commissioners have something they want to ask, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, NCPC minus subfile 5, 2020, Type 2 is an as-of-right project of which I recommend approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you.
Thank you and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Commissioner Lewis will handle the zoning. Do we want to do Freeport first?
Okay,
Freeport matters?
so we have two items for Freeport. Why don't we take those items first?
Let the record reflect that Commissioner Ellaby is recusing himself.
And that will leave us with 5, so we still have our quorum to handle these two items. So the first Freeport item is number 8 on our agenda, the
Yes.
zoning calendar.
This is NCPC case number 12-13619, Village of Freeport, and it's for use area and parking variances. Excuse me. This is a proposed 5-story hotel with 27 rooms on the site of a storefront, Papa John's, as part of a grouping of several storefronts. A hotel use is not permitted in the Business B district. In addition, a maximum height of 50 feet is permitted. 60 feet is proposed, including a stair and elevator bulkhead. In addition, 27 parking spaces are required, with 3 spaces provided, also insufficient front yard. Hotels, well, all right, let me think. To the south are attached 2-story storefronts. To the west is a municipal parking lot. To the north, beyond the one-way exit driveway from the municipal lot, is a 2-story commercial building. To the east across Guy Lombardo Avenue is a 2-story commercial building with 2 storefronts and a commercial building set back from Guy Lombardo. This stretch of Guy Lombardo Avenue is primarily 1- and 2-story storefronts. The street is 2 lanes with metered parking. It should be noted that hotels, motels, and botels are permitted uses in the village of Freeport within their marine business district, their marine industrial district, and within their planned unit development district. Hotels, motels, or botels are not permitted in any of the primary business districts within the village of Freeport. Staff, myself, I didn't think this was even though it does require a use variance, I didn't think it was a particularly undesirable reuse of the property, and staff recommended additional information, a parking and traffic analysis, given the substantial parking shortfall and the additional traffic to be generated by a hotel in a congested area. Also, the height should be reduced so that it is zoning compliant down to 50 feet. I think the Planning Commission might have had other concerns concerning this that they might want to articulate. So that's that one.
So let's open it up to the commissioners. Any comments on this item?
Yes, thank you. Marty, you mentioned, I believe, 3 districts, one including Marine, that does provide and promote the development of hotels.
Yeah, well, pretty much waterfront, yes.
Yeah, but they promote the development of hotels. But instead, this is one that does not, and it's asking for the development to be there. Why not use the others? I mean, is there no comprehensive plan provided about the future direction of the business district becoming exactly like the other district? I mean, what's the purpose of the other 3 districts when they allow hotels? This one does not. But
I'm not sure, excuse me, I'm not sure why their hotels or motels are not necessarily permitted in any of the primary business districts within the village. I don't want to speak for the village, but I guess they feel this is a fairly marginal
But I think
use
what
right
Commissioner
now.
said, we don't want to speak for the village either. If they want to change their zoning, then they should change their zoning, right?
No, they could allow, hotels or motels within their business district if that was part of the direction that it wanted to go from a planning standpoint.
Well, that would be great to see if that's what they do, but they've not done that yet.
No. Right. They don't have any plan that I don't think they have a plan that addresses this, although I wouldn't necessarily attest to that.
Do they have a master plan?
I think they. I think they do. I'm not sure for the whole village, but for certain sections, I'm not sure of the status of that.
Sean?
Yeah, we're not aware of any current comprehensive or master plan.
We haven't seen it. Nothing has crossed my desk with respect to a master plan.
So a lot of the comments so far have been about the use variance aspect and the fact that the master plan doesn't really provide, or the zoning plan doesn't really provide for this kind of use in this location.
Well, they're not permitted, which means they're expressly prohibited, which does require a use variance to erect a hotel.
So their master plan is to piecemeal it to the
Their zoning
Planning
ordinance.
Commission.
They don't have a master. I don't think they have
Right.
a master. Yeah, their zoning ordinance historically has been it is a fairly piecemeal, and zoning ordinance is fairly archaic, and they deal with things on a case-by-case basis for whatever purposes they say.
So on the case-by-case for this one, 3 parking spaces for a new hotel on one of the really crowded streets with limited parking that I can think of in Nassau County. It just seems out of realistic.
It's extreme. There are extreme departures from the standards of the code with respect to that, and
we just had a case recently with them where we had prime TOD development that they tore down and made a car dealership as well, right?
And that was after they had proposed
Right.
to do TOD. They kind of just withdrew that whole.
So I think that, instead of these pieces coming back to us in piecemeal, and for us to do a piecemeal master plan, that then maybe they should do their own study in terms of what they want to see in the future there. So if they're looking to do this, then maybe they ought to make zoning changes.
And a comprehensive plan that covers all aspects of this district.
So,
And
Commissioners,
other districts in the event, because you mentioned at the beginning, I believe there were 3 that included hotels. This is one business that did not include hotels, so it would be a little bit clearer maybe if they took a look at those as well.
so do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I move that we ask staff to include the comments and suggestions that we've just made into his letter.
Is that we had it, staff had recommended additional information. Does the commission want to go with that, and then, or does the commission want to deny it because it expressed the...
No, I think we were looking for is an LDL in terms of what their zoning plans are for the area. This is, it's a restriction.
I know, an LDL pretty much, at least if they're compelled, well, we could address, in requesting an additional information, I think it...
But Marty, there's a strict prohibition on hotels in this zone, right?
There's a strict prohibition.
Right, and there's surrounding zones that permit this type of building.
A couple of waterfront business districts do permit hotels, and a planned unit in another district.
So then I think in the LDLs, what we're saying is that it's more appropriate in one of the other districts, or if they want to make this less prohibitive, then they should rezone it.
So might that be a denial?
No,
I'm not
I
sure.
think the concern is more with the big picture. It's not so much this hotel per se, it's that the general overall picture is we're getting a number of use variance applications from the village, and if granted, why have a zoning code if you're going to be granting use variances?
So you're kind of saying that the commission may consider denying it then?
No, the commission the commission is recommending, and commissioner's motion is that LDL with a letter, a big picture that the village should, if they don't have a master plan, to adopt one that includes we'll call it a long-term vision for the development or redevelopment of the area.
But really, the application before us is about a specific hotel.
Right.
And whether or not the Planning Commission feels that Freeport in general should look at updating their master plan, I mean, that's a statement we could probably make about many municipalities. And,
very true, Commissioner.
It seems to me it's, there's still an inherent problem here with a hotel going up that has only 3 parking spaces.
Well, that's another concern. These are extreme variances.
Has anybody ever tried to park on that street?
I mean, it could be denied on the basis of that, or,
It also violates
whatever.
the 25-foot height for hotels, which, of course, doesn't apply to this district, but they've applied it to other
that's
districts.
another thing.
And it's also, it has multiple variances required: use variance, setback variance, height variance, and parking variance. I mean, how many more variances, are there possible?
So, Sean, did you want to make a recommendation?
I think what I'm hearing is the potential local determination with a letter. But I think given the concerns about the comprehensive or lack of comprehensive nature surrounding the downtown zoning, if changes, perhaps as a hybrid approach, right, where you do a local determination resolution that includes a whereas or therefore clause that mentions the request for comprehensive planning in the downtown. So that would be different than a LD resolution with an accompanying letter. The recommendation would actually be baked into the local determination resolution. And I know format-wise, Marty, that's different than
I'm not sure what that means.
than we normally do, but perhaps it's something that it still carries the weight of an LD, but it includes.
So why don't we put a draft together and circulate it?
Can we do an LD with a recommendation to deny?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Local determination, but we think they should deny it.
No, it's an LDL. Okay, so
I don't know, we're saying LDL, we're saying, a special LD resolution was saying denial. I'm a little flummoxed.
Well, let me,
It's a good time to ask what our time requirements are on this one.
Well, I mean, we got the, I logged it in 12/13, December 13th. You know, we have a 30-day turnaround period. So that's mid, well,
right, so
getting there, it's close.
Yeah, well, that's not before our next meeting, right? Oh, the 12th, you said?
The 30th, the 13th would be 30, the 13th of January would be 30 days.
Okay, so what I like to make a motion that we do an LDL and try and incorporate the issues in terms of the additional information requested, along with our concerns on a comprehensive planning. So if you put a draft together, we'll take a look at it, and we'll get something finalized. Today is the 9th. Tomorrow, when's it got to be out, Monday?
Marty, that's 30 days? We received it December?
I logged it in the 13th of December.
Okay, so Monday.
All right, so can we get something out today and look at it tomorrow?
Sure.
So the motion before us is an LDL to express our, the letter would express concerns regarding use variances as opposed to revisiting their zoning code and their master plan, and also concerns over traffic and parking for the
Additional information was requested.
Okay, so that is the motion. Did I hear a second? Okay, we have a motion seconded for a local determination with a letter. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, not seeing any. That is the referral from the Nassau County Legislature on this item. Let's go to number 16, which is the other Freeport item. It also involves a use variance.
This is NCPC case number 12-27119. This is also in the Village of Freeport. It's for a use variance. It's a proposal to construct two single-family attached dwellings in the Business B zoning district, which is not permitted. The site is currently a vacant grassed area. To the west is a four-story multifamily building. To the north, across Broadway, are four dwellings, detached dwellings. To the east is a dwelling and a two-story, quote-unquote, taxpayer with a small commercial strip and beyond which is a small commercial strip and dwelling. To the south is the rear of a one-story commercial building. Broadway is 2 lanes with intermittent on-street parking. This section of Broadway is characterized by a mix of multifamily and detached dwellings, local stores, and churches. Thus, the construction of two single-family attached homes in the business district is not necessarily out of character with this section of Broadway, as there are single-family homes along Broadway, as well as local stores and churches, and staff recommends local determination.
Is that because it's not out of character because we've granted use variances in the past?
Well, I don't think I've seen a use variance for single-family homes in the Business B district that I'm aware of, at least in recent times, but this one
I'm saying, is this exactly what we're talking about, where they come back? Yeah, so I think it's the same thing, it's an LDL.
I agree.
LDL, and the letter should address the, well, I guess the haphazard, well, we'll come up with something.
I think it should emphasize that you're saying it's a business zone where it's not permitted.
Well, I think the village is aware of that. We'll come up with some.
Could you just clarify, if you're looking at that image, it looks, I'm trying to picture, is this an appropriate place for residences? Maybe the rule that residents shouldn't be allowed in a business district?
Well, again, across the street, as you can see, are detached dwellings. There's a detached dwelling to the, whatever, I guess that would be to the east. I mean, they're there. It's not that it's an exclusive, you're right, and I gave that some serious consideration when the application came in, but haven't done a field visit.
I wanted to be clear. I'm not saying that I know for a fact.
As you can see,
yeah.
It's not like.
A field visit gives you a better sense of it. And so you're saying from that, and there are residences on the other side, so it's not.
we have a motion. It sounded like a LDL was the direction commissioners were heading.
Make that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion for an LDL, similar to the other one, raising some of the same points about how it fits into their overall zoning and master plan.
Right, with it highlighting the same points that we mentioned previously, I would second it.
Okay, we have a motion for an LDL. It's seconded. Let me put it to a vote. All those in favor of the LDL?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, not seeing any. The item carries. So those are the two Freeport items. We can ask our Freeport Commission to come on back in. So let us now consider the consent calendar. It looks like from my notes as to the items that there are no need for extensive discussion or back and forth on, because we've reviewed the staff write-ups and there weren't any additional questions. I believe that list, and if there's any item here that should be separated and not on the consent calendar, then tell me so and we'll take it off the list. But these would be the items, it looks like, would be on the consent, which is agenda items 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 17. So for the proposed...
15 also, the overlay district? I forgot that.
Is there, let me put it this way, is there any item on the list of the consent agenda that I just read, which does not include 15, that people feel should not be on the consent calendar? It should be an item that we're able to have more discussion about.
I believe you accurately provided the ones that I believe should remain as LDs.
Okay, so would you like to make that motion for the consent calendar?
I would be pleased to. Mr. Vice Chair, I move that we approve with an LD item on agenda number 1, number 3, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 9, number 11, 12, 13, 14, and 17.
Right, that's correct.
Okay, motion made and second. Let's put that to a vote on the consent calendar for LDs on the items as listed. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any. So those items are addressed, and we've already dealt with numbers 8 and 16, so the remaining items are 2, 4, 10, 15, and 16. So why don't we just go in that order? If we can go to number 2.
Zoning case, item number 2 is NCPC case number 12-13-119. Town of Hempstead, Hamlet of Belmore. It's for use in area variances. This is a proposed child daycare center on split zone property with frontage along Belmore Avenue. Zoned to business and the remainder of the site zone residence B. Requires a use variance to construct a daycare center in Residence B district. The site is surrounded by homes in all direction. It is a site of a former nursery. The site is located at the convergence of Belmore Avenue and Belmore Road at a severe acute angle, and the intersection is signalized. The site plan indicates that the parking lot for the daycare center will be along Belmore Avenue, where it converges with Belmore Road, where it converges with Belmore Avenue, with a curb cut right at the convergence of the two roads. Two buildings, each at about 5,000 square feet, are proposed east of the parking lot that are sandwiched between homes along Range Road and Princess Street. Playgrounds are proposed between the two buildings, with an outdoor classroom area situated along the site's northerly property line where it abuts homes. The site plan is modified from one that was previously before the Planning Commission on 4/26/2018. That plan proposed vehicular access on Residential Range Road into an L-shaped parking lot in the Res B district, with one larger building along Belmore Avenue and 3 large play areas, one at the intersection of Belmore Road and Range Road, and 2 playgrounds along the site's southerly property line that abuts the rear yards of homes. The Planning Commission at that time recommended denial for it being overly intensive in a residential area. While the revised plan, while in some regards represents an improvement from the previous plan, it is still an over-intensification of a non-residential use in a residential area, as well as providing problematic access that is located right at the intersection of Belmore Avenue and Belmore Road. Staff recommends denial.
And Marty, with regards to the guidelines that we put out last year, how much of that were they?
Well, they have, you know, a fairly, you know, they have bollards and whatnot, and a reasonable drop-off area. It's not from that standpoint. It's not it's bad in terms of ingress and egress and child safety. I didn't have any issues with that, but I do think it's somewhat it's still somewhat over-intensive, as it's surrounded by homes, and it's kind of, I find it somewhat problematic, and also in terms of ingress and egress from the proposed parking lot.
Didn't you say the curb cuts were on at the intersection?
There's one curb. There's a singular curb cut providing access to the parking lot, which is right at the convergence, right at the convergence of the intersection of Belmore Avenue and Belmore Road. So it's you know.
Is that a signaled intersection?
That is signalized. Yes.
John, do we have the street view again? Just want to. That's it.
That's it from that's it from the from rain. Yeah, that's it from one angle, and the other is it from that's it from I guess that's Belmore Avenue.
I guess if part of the concern is about that specific way in which they're locating the entrance from the roadway, is that an item that would be addressed under? Is this going to be subject to DPW review for that curb cut?
I think that is a county road. It will be if it hasn't already. I don't think it has been, but I'll follow up on it. But it will.
So the question of whether or not they've located that at the best location for the curb cut, that would be subject to a further review. Could I get a confirmation?
That is true.
Okay.
So the only basis for the denial is the over-intensification.
Well, I would like to highlight as well that I think that their interest in constructing a daycare center in a residential B district, they may want to take a close look at that as well.
I'm sorry.
So is it a permitted use in a residential B district?
It's not a permitted use. It requires a use variance.
But when you think about, I mean, and I'm just thinking about schools are not necessarily, you know, they're plopped in the middle of neighborhoods, and people like that because it's part of their community. I mean, my biggest concern, not with that, because, I mean, just being a mom and, you know, thinking about your drop-offs, you do want it somewhere to be in your neighborhood, but I'm, you know, concerned about, like, the playground, like, where is that located? And I know you said they had all the safety measures to protect, I guess, the kids in the playground, but where were they putting the playground again?
Well, you can see it. It's between the two buildings, and the two buildings are sandwiched between two homes that front on two different streets. And there's also an outside children learning area that's between.
How many feet? I mean, so is this a? Is this a road right here? Or this is the road? Where's the road?
Well, sure. You can
Okay, so it's all the way in the back.
So the only variance required here is the use variance?
I'm pretty sure it's only a use variance. That's how it came in. I will check that again because I think it is parking compliant. And I'll have to check that again, but I think it's just a use variance.
I personally don't have a problem with the use variance in a residential area because those are the customers. They're driving to work. They're going to drop their kids off on the way to work. I mean, it seems very convenient. And where would you put little children? In an industrial area?
No, I just thought that
I think
it's building sandwiched between two homes and
well,
whatever.
Everything's sandwiched in. Yeah, everything's sandwiched in Nassau County.
They be precluded from saying that in their residential B district they can also have nursery or daycare centers? They're not precluded from doing that, are they?
Forces them to go through this kind of a process where they would have to have a public hearing on it. It's not as of right. So if people come and are nearby and say, hey, you know, on the one hand, we're not thrilled about the queuing of cars waiting to drop off kids, but then on the other hand, there might be others who say, well, actually, it's convenient to be able to drop off your kids near your home for this kind of a, you know, for a daycare. So that's the debate would then play out at the village level because it's not permitted. You know.
But there was no parking variance. Was there a traffic study? Do we have all that?
No. We don't have, it didn't come with it. Initially, we didn't ask for it. We denied it in the initial plan that came to us in 2018. And again, according to John, Belmore Road, John, you said Belmore Road's not a county road? Correct. Belmore Road's not a county road, which I thought it was a county. Belmore Avenue is a county road. It won't go through 239F review.
My only objection is I think the entrance and exit is in the worst possible place. You know, my feeling on this is an LD where they move the entrance to a quieter area. That would be my only comment. I wouldn't be opposed to this personally.
Okay.
We would agree with that as well.
Because they're not putting this huge structure, they're keeping it a one-story building. I mean, they are trying to keep it within, you know, the character of the neighborhood. And again, I mean, the convenience for the community, I think, is an important one. But the community will not have an opportunity to voice their opinion about this, right?
Well, they will because it'll go before the town.
Okay, so then.
But I just want to let you know, initially, I would think it was the initial plan that we saw in 2018 was problematic, also because it's come back to us in a modified version. So obviously there might have been. It would be safe to assume that there was community opposition to the initial plan. Whether there is to this plan, I have no idea.
But it will go back to the community, right? And they'll be able. So I think that's perfect because the community will decide whether or not they feel that they want a daycare center in their community.
Okay, so we can the commission won't want to see local determination with a letter that addresses safe ingress and egress.
Yeah, I think parking and traffic analysis is really what we're asking for.
So you want that? Okay, well, that's.
I think that's what we're asking for.
Moving the entrance, I think.
Well, normally we request additional information in a resolution that says we want well, this may be parking compliant, but we want an analysis that addresses ingress and egress. And
with concern
traffic.
for the safety of the children.
Right.
That's the.
I highlight the location of the entrance as part of the analysis that Chairman is proposing.
How many children are we talking about at serving?
I don't know if the application states that. I'd have to check the application.
What's the over-intensification if we don't know how many children are going to be there?
Well, I mean, you're putting 10,000 square feet of daycare in between two roads. That's the way I feel. That's the way I view it. You have two rows of. You have single-family homes along one road, single-family homes along another road, and you're.
But it's not over-intensification. It's just that it would be out of
10,000 square feet. This isn't small. This is 10,000 square feet. That's a fairly large daycare center. But you know.
But they are keeping it. I mean, the way it looks now, it's two proposed one-story buildings.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. No, it's
so
within
it's
the height
not
limitations.
But that it's not, one building is not 10,000 square feet, right? It's like two building.
The initial plan, was for one very large building. This is too small.
So I think that they are trying to be more in character with the community by dividing up the buildings and keeping them one story so they sort of fit in. Because I'm
Putting a
thinking
playground in between the two buildings.
Right. Because
You can almost consider it a commercial flag lot, but in any case.
Oh,
okay.
why would it be a commercial flag lot? Aren't they both abutting the roadway and there's curb cuts on each side?
Well, yeah. Okay.
I'm asking.
Well, only because you're quote unquote sandwiching in two commercial buildings between in a deep residentially zoned property. fairly set, far from the main road. I mean, from that standpoint.
I'm hearing from the commissioners the concern about the fact that a traffic analysis was not done on, the flow in and out, and whether or not this particular entrance, the way they did it, it might look not good to some of us, maybe it looks not so bad to others, but we're not the experts. Normally, we'd like to see some analysis there. So that's what I'm hearing.
Right.
Do we want to do a local determination with a letter saying that we want to encourage the village to take a closer look at that traffic flow question, or do we just want to make another request for information, understanding that this has gone through a process here where we've given comments and
I think they've already made some of the modifications based on a prior denial, so I think the NLDL with the recommendation for an
I think it's
analysis.
important to, as Rick had mentioned, about the egress, that.
Are we doing a LDL, LD, denial?
Can we get a traffic analysis? I mean, I'm looking at this plan
requesting
more.
additional traffic?
Yeah, people going on Belmore Avenue North, can they make a right on red? And if they can make a right on red, people are exiting. Will that be signaled, that exit from there? It will be signaled. You have to put a new signal in there for the people coming out of that parking lot to have a green light and the other road's red. Otherwise, it's very dangerous.
They might need to redo the signal, maybe to accommodate the driveway.
Who's going to determine that? I'm not aware of how that works.
That would be under county purview.
No, I don't know if it would be because it's not a county road.
All signals, with the exception of state signals, are county in Nassau County. So that would come to the county if they were to provide propose a signal, that would come to the county.
I just want to say one thing. Normally, we've been deeming applications incomplete and asking for additional information, and we normally get the additional information, which is a traffic and parking study, to do it as an LDL. I don't know, we may never get that.
Perhaps we can request the applicant's traffic engineer to come to the next meeting if we have enough time to explain the circulation, because yes, the frontage is on a town road, but it does intersect with a county road just south of the property. If there is a potential signal, that's something we should know about. So if we have the time, I'd recommend we have the.
I think the paramount concern here is the safety of the children. I don't think that anybody's agreeing on the over-intensification or, that it's not it's out of character, but not as out of character if it was one large building, 2 stories. So I think our concern mostly is with the safety and what's being done. So that's, unless I'm misstating it.
So are we taking it off the agenda and having them come in? Well, they can't because it'll be after the 30 days.
I was going to say, do we have the time?
We don't have the time because the next meeting is what, the 30th? Yep. So the 30 days will have been.
Does the town have a hearing set date?
Yeah, the hearing is their hearing is 2/5/20. Yeah, so So they it depends how they want to do it, though. They could say, well, okay, whatever the commission.
It would be a request for additional information, and that additional information would be the. That'd be great to get the engineer in here. I think that would be tremendous.
So.
Okay, so it sounds like what I'm hearing is that the motion would be to deem the item incomplete, requesting additional information on the traffic flow in and out of the entrance exit to the property.
So moved.
That would be removed from the agenda so that they would come for the next meeting?
We'll be here for the next meeting.
Is that what it's, the motion's
Well,
saying?
we're asking for additional meeting.
Isn't that a little, just for clarification for me, that's all it is. So I thought that if it was taken off the agenda, then they would be coming to the next meeting to provide the information.
We're not taking it off the agenda. We're saying we'll send it back with a request for additional information, and if they show up at the next meeting, it'll still be before the next village meeting.
Could we give them the option of either that we're requesting to meet with the traffic people that were involved in preparing this plan, as opposed to saying we want a traffic study, because that would take more than one meeting. Right? When we say we're deeming it incomplete because we don't have enough information about this, whether there's going to be a light involved in the site, which, as Sean points out, that involves the county's role. So to say we're not clear if there's going to be a light, we're deeming it incomplete and requesting that you send to us the people that were involved in writing up the plan. So it's, usually there's a consultant team or some experts that worked on the traffic plan. So is that we're in the past we asked for a study, but could we just ask, we want additional information, we want to know whether or not this involves a traffic light. We'd like to hear from your people that proposed the plan.
Right, further clarity on the circulation and access plan, and if that requires, if there was a study done, great. If not, it's a conversation with their traffic engineers.
I verified on Penn Hempstead website, it is on for February 5th, so we do have the time.
Okay, so the chairman's motion, I believe, is to deem it incomplete and request that the people involved in preparing the plan, the experts, come before us for our next meeting.
To address the traffic.
To address specifically the entrance exit point and
safety
traffic
aspect.
lights and safety lights.
So if they come before us at our next meeting and they satisfactorily address this issue, then we deem it that it's okay. So we don't necessarily put a resolution together now because we're going to hear from, hopefully, I'm not guaranteeing that we can get a hold of them to do this. I just kind of.
I think that we have to make it in the form of a motion of being incomplete, because if they don't show up at the next meeting, then it gets put over until we get the additional information. It's up to them, is what we're saying, whether they want to come and send somebody down to address it or require the analysis themselves.
Okay, so do I have a second for that motion? Seconded. So the motion is seconded. Any other discussion? Not seeing any, let's put it to a vote. So it's a motion for local determination, for a request for additional information deeming the item incomplete and explaining our concerns about the traffic concerns. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Not seeing any. The item carries. LDL, Marty. So let's go to number.
So
Incomplete traffic, not LDL. My apologies. Strike that.
Okay.
Incomplete.
All right. What's the next one?
4.
All right. This is NCPC.
Back to Belmore Avenue.
Yep. This is NCPC case number 13319, Town of Hempstead, Hamlet of Baldwin. This is for a special exception and a waiver of off-street parking. This is a proposed two-story addition consisting of 6,753 square feet to existing church, which is 6,814 square feet, for a total of 13,567 square feet, resulting in essentially a doubling of the size of the church. A special exception is required for the church addition. The current church does not provide parking. No parking will be provided on the site upon completion of the project. A total of 117 parking spaces are required. Thus, the applicant is applying for a waiver of parking. The site is located in a residential neighborhood and is surrounded by homes in all directions. The case was initially before the Planning Commission quite a long time ago. It didn't seem it was this long ago, but I dug in and it's dug deep, and it said 5/24/2012. And I do remember it. That plan proposed 11 parking spaces. At that time, the Planning Commission requested a parking study. None was provided, no parking is provided on the current plan. As it is a religious institution, I would give the applicant the benefit of the doubt and deem it incomplete and request additional information.
Hold on, Marty. So 7.5 years ago, we asked for a parking study.
And we never, and this.
They didn't
and
provide
maybe,
the parking study, and we're going to ask for the parking
we
study?
could deny it. Well, again, I was going to suggest a parking.
I
and
mean, I
traffic
think
analysis.
7.5 years is enough time to get a parking study done.
Well,
they must have done
the other
something.
point is
They
the numbers.
reduced the parking. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's just missing by a few. What are we talking about here? 11 spaces for when over 100 would presumably be needed?
There were 11. That is none. They actually took the parking spaces that were initially provided in the earlier plan off of this, off the current plan. So, I mean.
So now it would be like 230 required, and they're giving 0. Is that approximate?
Actually, they're trying to make amends with the community because they have on the first sign, public hearing, if you go back on the board. You see, so they're probably trying to get the support of the community not to come out in a, oh, okay.
Yeah, but hold on, Marty. So there's originally, when it came before us in 2012, it required to have 117 parking spaces. It only had 11. So now it has none, and it would require, I presume, 128 parking spaces.
Well, no, No, it requires 107, according to the application, it requires 117
Okay.
parking spaces.
All right, but still, it's more than a small shortfall.
I think I'm sort of leaning towards a denial so that when it goes back to the town or whatever, the village, whatever, that the residents get a chance to come out and, you know.
Oh, and they
because
will.
The
They'll come
neighbors,
out.
you know, have to put up with 117 cars, you know, within walking distance of this church.
So would you like to
There's
make
gonna
that a
be
motion?
some-
Make a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny. Yeah.
Is there a second? Okay, we have a second. Motion made. All in favor of denial?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the denial carries.
Okay, what's the next one, the commission? Okay. Let's see if one of my recommendations could hold this time. I'm all for whatever today, but that's fine.
It happens.
The next one, NCPC case number 1219-119. This is the village within the village of Matinecock, and it's for a subdivision, also frontage on a public road, which it doesn't have. This is at the border of Matinecock and Locust Valley, which is unincorporated town of Oyster Bay, hamlet. So if this is approved by the village, then it'll come before the planning commission as a subdivision, as it is within 300 feet of another municipal line. This is a two-lot flag-type subdivision with each lot having an area of 10,000 square feet, which is zoning compliant. That's the minimum required. Proposed parcel B fronting on Oyster Bay Road, which I think is a county road, has a zoning compliant frontage of 113 feet. Proposed parcel A is a flag lot with no frontage on a public road. A 10-foot wide easement will be provided to provide access. There's currently a dwelling on a property that will be demolished. To the north is an older, smaller dwelling. To the south is also an older, smaller dwelling set back off of Oyster Bay Road. Across from the subject property is tract housing located in the hamlet of Locust Valley. Fieldwork indicated that there were no other flag lots noted in the area, and there are larger properties in Matinecock nearby. Oyster Bay serves as the boundary between the village of Matinecock and the town of Oyster Bay, hamlet of Locust Valley. As I stated previously, if approved by the village pursuant to 239N, then a subdivision will require Nassau County Planning subdivision approval. Staff recommends denial. The Planning Commission normally discourages the creation of flag lots that stack one lot behind a lot that fronts on a public street. Problems may arise with respect to emergency access and the provision of other city municipal services. They are providing a 10-foot wide easement. Some municipalities may, I did a little research and I noticed that some municipalities, although discouraging flag lots, may permit a flag lot if that lot is greater in area than required by zoning. In this case, that's not the case. Also, no other flag lots were noted in the area, and approval may establish a precedent for the creation of other flag lots.
And that last point is particularly of concern.
You might win this one, Marty.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
So do we have a motion?
Make a motion to deny.
We have a motion to deny.
Second.
2 seconds.
Motion is seconded. All in favor of denial, please say aye. Any opposed? Not hearing any. The denial carries. So our last agenda item is number 15. This is a overlay district for Baldwin, the town of Hempstead, and we got to hear from both the town official and one of the planners involved in this to help us understand some of the background to this during our work session at 9 o'clock this morning. And Marty, you want to say a few words about the project?
Okay, this is NCPC case number 1223-119, this town of Hempstead. This is the Grand Avenue Corridor building, Grand Avenue Corridor Baldwin location, and it's amendment to the zoning code. And in response to the needs of the Baldwin community, the town has proposed a creation of the Baldwin Mixed-Use Overlay District. The primary goal of this district is to facilitate private investment, public benefits, and economic development in downtown Baldwin, which has seen some decline in recent years. It seeks to leverage the area's proximity to public transit by proposing mixed-use transit-oriented development around the LIRR station to drive or encourage foot traffic, implement transportation and infrastructure improvements necessary to accommodate future growth, and enhance visual quality and pedestrian amenities through the implementation of design guidelines. The BMX Baldwin Mixed-Use District will be divided into 3 sub-districts. One is the Baldwin Mixed-Use Transit-Oriented Development, TOD sub-district. The second is the Baldwin Mixed-Use Merrick Roadway Gateway sub-district, and the third one is the Baldwin Mixed-Use Commercial Transition sub-district. The Baldwin Mixed-Use TOD sub-district allows for greater development intensities for properties fronting on Grand Avenue and Sunrise Highway closest to the rail station. The BMXCT district, which is the transition district sub-district, facilitates appropriately scaled mixed-use commercial development in transition areas along the Grand Avenue corridor. All the Latin bulk controls for the Baldwin mixed-use MRG district, which is the gateway district, facilitates private investment, public benefit, and economic development within the area around the intersection of Merrick Road and Grand Avenue. All the mixed-use sub-districts allow residential uses and mixed-use buildings as permitted uses. There are no maximum residential densities within these sub-districts, but each sub-district has a maximum floor area, or FAR. Maximum permitted heights are also scaled to, are as follows. In the TOA sub-district, 75 feet is maximum 75 feet is permitted. In the MRG or Gateway district, the maximum of 60 feet is permitted. And in a CT district, which is the transition district, the maximum of 45 feet is permitted. The regulations allow for FAR development bonuses and the adjustment of parking requirements if the applicant provides specific community benefits and amenities as specified in the regulations, i.e. open space, parks, cultural amenities, or cash in lieu of brownfield rehabilitation remediation contribution to community benefit for non-sited related infrastructure improvements that are not directly related to the subject site development. Each application will go before the newly created Design Review Board for compliance with codified design guidelines. Staff is recommending a local determination with a letter that addresses affordable housing as the proposed regulation makes no mention of it, and also the incorporation of the county's guidelines for providing affordable housing in residential development.
And I think if we could add a little bit of the history to the letter as well, I think that we would like to sort of promote others to do the same sort of thing, where they've worked with the community, they've worked with the state, they've worked with the county, they've worked with just about everybody for years and years and years to finally get to this point. So I think if we could pat them on the back a little, I think that'd be nice.
So historically, when items come before us, if we like it, we usually just say LD, because we're leaving it with really no other comment from the county. But what we did do at the last meeting with the Long Beach project was kind of similar, where they went through this lengthy process and came up with a creative idea of how to deal with the need to lift homes up for repairs after Sandy. But no one has money to spend on all those homes, and so they came up with a formula to try and make a creative way where people could do it better financially, so that they allow the two-family homes, and then one home could be rented, one unit can be rented, and then they put requirements on that. So it was really well thought out, it seemed, and so we gave a comment like that. So similarly, we could do that here, where it's a local determination with the letter, but the letter's not to raise concerns, but rather to embrace the process that they went through and the need for redevelopment and revitalization. Yeah.
Also an example of really good planning.
Exactly.
in addition, yeah.
It might benefit other communities and municipalities, especially if we then later include it maybe on the website or something.
So the motion is for a local determination with a letter to indicate support and really commend the good planning principles and the efforts made.
I'll move.
The motion is made. The motion is seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any. Last item carries. Throw it back to the chairman for closing.
Motion to adjourn. All right. Happy New Year, everyone.